Hello and welcome to the Better in Business podcast. As I record this episode, it's the 18th of June. I think you're going to get it pretty quickly. I'm today interviewing Enrique Febres from Investor Property Solutions. He's going to introduce himself inside the podcast. Maybe I'll let you know he's 18 years in the game, so to speak, as like a property investment coach. He does love to specialize somewhat in how to buy a house with your superannuation. And the other thing I'd love to mention, which I will go into in the podcast, is this one is timely because it's tax time. And I did reach out to my clients about this recently. So just listen up a little bit as I share my own personal story of just what I'm doing at tax time. Okay. Apart from that, how about we jump in? I'll see you in the episode. You've tuned into the Better in Business podcast, and I'm your host, Jeannie Savage. I'm a multi-award winning business veteran and head of the Strategic Bookkeeper Network. My network of strategic bookkeepers is dedicated to helping entrepreneurs do better in business. This podcast aims to challenge your thinking. If you're not thinking the right way, how can you act the right way? Each episode will dive into key drivers of success, which I also call the rules of the game. Learn the rules and play to win. Let's go. I like to start every episode by reminding you that it is globally recognized that pillar number one for success is up-to-date, accurate bookkeeping, which is the only way you can see how your business is performing in terms of profit and cash. If your books aren't right up to date, visit betterinbusiness.global, drop me a line and I'll connect you with a certified strategic bookkeeper. Fire your bookkeeper and hire a strategic bookkeeper. Bookkeeping is a cost, whereas strategic bookkeeping is an investment that averages a 10x return on the fees. Welcome to the podcast, Enrique.
Thanks, Jeannie. It's a pleasure to be here.
Okay, let's dive in. Today, we are going to talk about how to buy a house with your super, which I love. I'm just about to do that myself with Enrique in the new financial year. And thinking about that reminded me that it's tax time. And recently, I sent a little audio clip and an email just to my clients. And it was more of a share of, look, here's what I'm thinking about and doing right now. I mean, we've always got tax time checklists and things like this, right? But I think it is sometimes really helpful and useful to just hear more, what is another entrepreneur, another human, another person doing to be as smart as they possibly can at tax time. And so when you and I decided to jump on and record this, I was thinking, only yesterday I was tempted to send another little clip to my clients because I sent one last month. And that's because it was May. And in May, I like to ask my clients to talk to their income tax accountant because that's when you want to do your tax planning, right? So as I record this, I am currently just kind of sorting out my income because I bought 2 investment properties. One of them I'm Airbnb-ing. I've got a lot of costs. I'm like, oh my goodness. And therefore, I want to work out how much income do I really want to declare in order to buy another couple of properties in the next financial year. And one of the things that I did, Enrique, is I maxed out that concessional superannuation contributions. Yesterday, I put 30,000 into my super because actually my accountant said to me, Jeannie, like a couple of days ago, you get that money into super, right? Because it's just the kind of easiest way for me to minimize my income tax. And I know previously when I looked at the before and after, sometimes I saved $10,000 on tax by putting it all into my super. So I wanted to kind of let everyone know that's what I've done. I can't give you tax minimization advice because under the Tax Agent Services Act, I'm not an income tax accountant. I'm a management accountant. But just hearing what I'm doing and also hearing that I bought 2 investment properties this financial year and I'm hoping to buy 2 in the next financial year. This financial year, I bought like an older house and just a great buy duplex. Next financial year, I'm going to buy units. So I'm looking at units, and actually Enrique's looking at units for me as well because he has access to special stock. So I just wanted to connect today's episode to tax time. Now I would love to pivot across to Enrique. And to do that, The first thing that I think is really important to talk to Enrique about is his background. I'm going to try and share with you a bit about what I call Enrique's brand story and how he's ended up helping Aussies to buy a house with their super. So, Enrique, I'll first just ask you, look, I know that you are Enrique Febres. You're the founder, owner, head honcho at Investor Property Solutions. More than that, I would love for you to tell us, where do you come from? Where were you born?
Yeah, I was born in Peru and raised until the age of 18. So I went through my education and, of course, passionate Peruvian and Aussie now.
Okay, so born in Peru, and I think you're multilingual too. It always makes me feel like I can only speak English. How many languages do you speak?
Well, I speak mainly English and Spanish, but I can have a conversation in Portuguese and Italian.
As
And I
well,
can say
yeah.
a few words in Korean.
We won't even get into how that happened today. And so now I'd love for you to tell us about the influence that you didn't even realize that your mother had on where you are today. Let's go back to, when you were young, you were in Peru, before when you were a twinkle in your mother's eye. So your mother somehow ended up working in financial services and actually building wealth through a property portfolio, which a single mum in Peru, like, holy cow, and eventually migrated how many of her family to New Zealand? So tell us a bit about your mum, her journey from, a young girl to being a little property mogul in Peru, and how you've ended up somehow helping single mums buy property these days.
Thank you. Well, mom was born in Peru from Spanish parents. My mother went through a lovely childhood, but at one stage, there was a few of, economical problems and some setbacks in the family, and they lost the family home when she was very young. That definitely impacted my mother quite a bit, which swore never to be homeless or never to put us in a position like that. That's exactly what she did very early on in her career. She started working for a bank where she not only got that education and find out that owning property was one of the best things that she could have done to secure her financial future and the families as well. So that's exactly what she did. She spent working in the same institution for about 35, 40 years, and she accumulated a nice portfolio of properties. After that, of course, we shifted into Australia and New Zealand, a big part of a family, which was probably a couple of dozens of us, where she managed to help by selling all her portfolio of properties and migrating initially to New Zealand. So that itself was one mom's story, and a story of a single woman who understood really the power of investing in property and how she managed to then change the life of so many of her family members that later on they all support their own families as well. So thanks to mom, that there was a new migration of so many Peruvians in this part of the world.
Yeah, and it was through her buying property, as I understand it, that she put all of you kids. How many of you kids? How many were there?
We were 4 of us, and then
4 of you. Okay,
yeah.
So she put you all through private school. And as I understand it, she housed all her brothers and sisters.
Right,
and then she
correct,
migrated a couple of dozen of you to New Zealand during political unrest. And all of that was through the power of her buying property. So
exactly right, yeah.
If that fork in the road that I believe happened at 12 years of age, had that not have happened, had she not become a property owner, would you be here today in Australia telling us this story?
Probably not.
But I know that you are tenacious. I know you came to Australia at 18, and, so many parts of your story we won't share today, but I know you paused because you're probably thinking, I would have got there somehow. Look, it's just an amazing story. And I know a while ago when we met, because I love brand story, and I pressed you and I said, so now you help single mums buy property? And you went, oh, I guess that's kind of how I ended up here. I know you don't just help single mums, but you love lowering the barriers to entry through buying property through super for single mums as well. Now, I'd just love to ask you a bit about buying property with your super. So I know that you told me that there was 3 key benefits of why you would buy property in super. There's also the how you buy property in super. And today we're not going to cover everything off. So if, like me, you would like Enrique to help you to buy a house with your super, I'll kind of let you know right now. In the show notes, we'll drop a link into investorpropertysolutions.com.au. Now, it is investor with an AR, like you're a star investor. And then when you go, there's also an ebook that you can get, the Buy a House with Your Super, that Enrique has authored. It's available on Spotify as well. So in terms of how to do it, Enrique's got a whole lot of stuff he can pass on to you. In terms of the benefits, because that's why personally I am buying a house with super. You said there were 3 benefits. I've got my little notes here. There's leverage, tax, and barriers to entry. Tell us a little bit about the benefits. I know leverage now better than I ever knew it. Since you and I have met, since you've helped me with property generally, I'm finally like light bulb on. I get leverage. Oh my goodness, borrow as much as I can. So tell us about the leverage, tax, and barriers to entry advantages with buying a house inside super.
Sure. Yeah, that's certainly the most important part of why we actually invest in property with superannuation. Now, we're starting with leverage. Essentially, with super, you can borrow and buy a much bigger asset than what you have sitting in cash. It's a way to use others people's money, or what we call it OPM. The banks, of course, while your super works harder for you. So it's basically the ability to borrow to purchase a much bigger asset using your superannuation as your deposit, of course. So that's a very, very important, very significant thing, because when you compare what your superannuation funds can do, if you decide not to do absolutely anything, you pretty much know exactly what's going to be the results of that.
Yeah.
But by using leverage, you kind of like turbocharge your super, and your results are projected, of course, in the long term to be much better than if you decided not to do it. So that's basically that most important characteristics.
Yeah, it's one little thing that is just so massive, isn't it? And you know, I'm 53 years old and I'm in finance. I'm a management accountant, but I didn't really understand the simplicity and the power. And I know I said to you recently, there are 2 reasons I invest, right? Leverage and tax. Leverage and tax, leverage and tax, leverage and tax. And for anyone going, what do you really mean? Like, honestly, leverage is just borrowing money. Yeah, money makes money. I recently bought some crypto, right? Because I was like, everyone's doing that. I'll give it a red hot go. I bought $1,000 worth of crypto. And then now I am a numbers girl. So I sat down and I did my numbers. Even if it doubled, I've only made $1,000. What am I going to do with that? I went shopping the other day. It was more than $1,000. Now, if I borrow money from the bank and my house doubles in value, which it will in 15 years, if you look at every single property cycle, don't believe the 10-year myth, 15 years, everything that I've ever looked at doubles, because I did my due diligence before deciding I wanted to buy a house in super. If I buy a house for, say, let's just say $500,000, then I'll make $500,000 in 15 years. And, you know, then there's the tax. For anyone out there, it's just simply going leverage just means that you can borrow money, okay? So now tell us about, there's so many tax savings, you probably can't even list them all, but just tell us about, you know, how it's a great tax benefit when you're buying a house inside super.
Yeah, one of the main benefits, of course, of investing in super is tax benefits. Superannuation, and this is what is related to leverage as well, because you're going to borrow money, right?
Yeah.
The fact is that inside superannuation, your property is only taxed at 15%. And that's a huge difference. Now, any income that you receive, of course, from your rentals,
yes,
it's also taxed at 15% only. So it is definitely a much better proposition to take. Yeah. Now, the other part.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt you. If we just compare that for a minute, because I know for most of us, we don't keep track of tax rates, right? So if you're getting taxed 15% on your income on a house you buy inside super, I'm going to compare that to my properties I've got now. Let's say I was earning $100,000 a year or something like that, an average wage. And then the income I'm getting off the properties is over and above that. I'm going to be paying about 50%. So that's correct. A 35% savings. Okay, so that's one of it, the lower tax margin on your rental income. Yep.
And if we're looking at the long term and we move into retirement stage, any of the income that you will receive for your property inside superannuation will be tax-free. So you will be able to claim the whole rental income.
Yeah, so once you retire, is that right?
Once you retire, yeah, It's exactly
Yeah.
what happened. You won't be paying any more tax. It will be tax-free income, which is just fantastic.
Amazing. And then
Yeah.
I know that there is like a capital gains advantage as well. So if I
Yeah.
sold my property outside of super, which I never intend to sell anything, right? Buy and hold. But if I sell, then I pay capital gains tax, which I once got hit with that during my divorce and vomit. It took me 2 years to pay it off. So yeah, tell us about capital gains tax because I can't even remember that one inside super.
Sure. Inside superannuation, if you decide to sell your investment property before you retire, then you pay capital gain tax, but the rate is only 10%.
Oh, is it?
So compare with about 25% of what you have to pay
Yeah.
outside superannuation. So 10%, it's a
Wow.
great benefit. Now, however, and this is the best part, if you hold your property until you retire, and then, at any stage of retirement, you decide to sell it, there is no capital gain tax, which is phenomenal. So the savings are astronomical. We're talking about thousands and perhaps hundreds of thousands in tax savings as well. So that's why I think investing in property using your superannuation is one of the most tax effective products that we have in our financial system.
Look, it's just phenomenal. And then, okay, number 3, barriers to entry. And I totally get that one now. So tell our listeners about that.
Well, most people usually start investing outside superannuation. They work really, really, really hard to save money in order to grab enough deposit and get a loan from the bank. However, these days, as we can all experience, no matter if interest rates are going up or down, property values continue rising. And it's been rising steady for the last few years, independently of that interest rate, but also inflation. So in Australia, there is a great argument that property will continue going up in value because that strong demand that we have, and there's a current housing crisis. As a consequence, it's very difficult to continue savings because the prices go, quicker before you can actually put a deposit together. This is where superannuation comes in handy because a lot of Australians who may not be in a position to invest outside superannuation, they can actually buy a property using their superannuation funds. So it's already funds that they already have, funds that they can actually use immediately without having to go through that. So that's why breaking the barriers of ownership, because instead of just waiting or continue saving, chasing your tail, you already have those funds that you can utilize straight away.
Can you give me an example of someone that you have done that with?
Sure. We have a client, Alistair, is one of our clients as well. Now, Alistair purchased his own home outside of his superannuation, and he basically leveraged a lot. So he wasn't really in a position to invest in property using the equity because he didn't have enough equity, and it would have taken extra savings and more time, right?
Okay.
So when I analyzed his situation and his scenario, I realized that he did have about 300,000 in superannuation. So I thought, listen, this is a really good opportunity to consider. You have enough funds in here to put as a deposit for an investment property. So rather than just waiting until you have enough savings outside or waiting for the property market to go up and use the equity in your house to get into your first investment, because he wanted to continue investing, I said, this is a great opportunity. And when I present the figures, and he realized that it was, less risky proposition as well. And then he was not only going to have the rental income, but also have employer's contribution. Essentially, he decided to go, yes, I can do this. And it's not going to cost me. It's not going to cost pretty much anything from the money that he actually receives, from the money that comes into his account. So being a cash flow positive or positive gearing proposition, usually superannuation allows you to do that. He decided, yeah, that's a no-brainer. And yeah, he wasn't really quite keen in the beginning because he used to have a superannuation or self-managed super fund simply to play in the share market. He never saw any results. But because he had seen results now in his own home, he decided, yeah, I can duplicate this with the advantage of using superannuation.
Yeah. And I think you were telling me actually that he might have seen gains in that property within a very short period.
Exactly. He purchased about a year ago, and he purchased in a really good growth area in Brisbane, and the property in about 12 months has already actually making more than $80,000. So he's very happy
Wow.
with the current results. That itself tells you that if he would actually leave his funds doing absolutely nothing, he'd probably make a few $100, not
Yeah.
$80,000. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's
And
actually been working.
actually, for our listeners, when I was doing the sums, being the numbers girl I am, on leaving my money in super fund versus buying property, I actually took the liberty of recording it. Like I did a screen record whilst creating a spreadsheet and running all of the numbers. And I actually gave that to Enrique. So if you would like to, and I think you might have even given that to Alistair to use, and now it's a little tool. So you can use the spreadsheet that I created. You can see the video that I did. And it really is just me saying, right, let me figure out whether I should really do this because, property investment, it can be something that brings up a lot of fear and a lot of risk. And while I'm a real double-edged sword, there's a part of me loves to take risks, and then there's that real risk-averse side. So if you would like to see that spreadsheet and video, just reach out to Enrique, hello@investorpropertysolutions.com.au. We will link that in the show notes, okay? And he can provide that. But I think there's always more questions, there's always more things. I think that the best thing now that I could, I guess, suggest for my listeners is if they are curious, if they're wondering, well, I don't know, this kind of sounds good, I might want to know more. What do you suggest? Do they just reach out to you? Do they have a chat to you? What's the best thing to do?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, the very first step is just to have a quick chat where I can not only understand a future client situation, but also being able to make a professional recommendation. A lot of people have so many different inquiries. They don't understand if they can afford it. They don't know what to buy, who to trust, what solicit or whatever. We can discuss all of these things, but the most important thing is to understand exactly where you are at this particular point. Then we can say, yes, you're ready to go. This is exactly how you do it. Or no, we need to wait a little bit, either to save a little bit more money or whatever. There's so many things that we need. So everybody's individual. So that's why we prefer to have a one-on-one conversation. You can always just give me a call directly. I just leave my number in the link, or you can visit our website and there's really good information as well, where then you can, reach out for absolutely any inquiries with me as well.
Yeah. And if you use ChatGPT, you can ask ChatGPT.
Great idea.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? So just a reminder that you can grab the ebook, Buy a House with Super playbook, which is on the website investorpropertysolutions.com.au. Enrique also has like an information session he runs regularly and a recorded version of it, one in Spanish, one in English. And I think that is a wrap. Thank you for coming on the podcast, Enrique.
It's been a real pleasure. Thank you very much, Jenny.
I hope you enjoyed that episode as much as I enjoyed recording it. I would love to help you start doing better in business right now by giving you a free little ebook. It's a how-to guide. It's called The 7 Deadly Cash Flow Sins. And also I've developed a business health check for you. It's super high value. Both are available at betterinbusiness.global. If you would like to fire your bookkeeper and hire a strategic bookkeeper to start enjoying a return on investment and get the support you need to optimize your business cash and profit and time wealth, simply visit betterinbusiness.global, drop me a line and I'll connect you with a certified strategic bookkeeper near you. I'll see you in the next episode.